If a literary agent can't sell your book, do you just cut ties and move on? My name is Gina. I'm an author, editor, publishing professional. I help you make your writing better. This is totally and completely up to you. That is usually not what happens, though. So I'm going to go through a couple of different scenarios and help you understand kind of what this looks like. So if you query a literary agent and they decide to represent you, and you guys have decided that you're going to build a career together, which is what most literary agents are doing. Very, very, very few agents are like, yep, one and done, rep this book, and then you're out on your own. Usually they want to build a career with you over the long haul because that's where the money is. It's later in your career. Debuts usually don't make as much money as people who are 10 books deep, 15 books deep into their career. They want to build a career with you because that's how they're going to get paid a lot more money. And so then they do editorial work on your book, and then they take this book out on submission to editors, but then the book doesn't sell. Now, if they are a decent literary agent, they have submitted that book to every single editor who is interested in working on that type of book. And so you can't then just go take it to a different literary agency, because that literary agency, the new one, is going to say, well, okay, that book already died on submission. Everybody who would want to see it has already seen it. It's over. Like, you're not going to sell that one. That book might come back around several years later, especially if you've written and published other things. That book might come back out of the trunk, but right now it has died on submission. It can't be submitted anywhere else. Those same editors don't want to see the same book again a year later that they already said no to. Like, they don't want to do that. And so, no, your book died on submission, and that sucks, and it happens to everybody. Every single author will have a book die on submission at some point. It sucks. It doesn't feel good at all. But while you were querying, you were working on something else, right? That's what I've told you over and over and over again, that you should work on the next book and not book two in the series, work on something else entirely. And then while you were out on submission, you were continuing to work on that something else entirely. So you have other books to sell. So when your first book dies on submission, you try again with the next book. And it's rare for people to have like 5, 6, 7 books die on submission. That's unusual. And that is where, even after like book 3 dying on submission, I would advise you to take a good hard look at this agent that you are working with. Are they submitting to the type of publishers that you want to work with? Do they have a good reputation? Are they selling other stuff? Is this like a connection with your work, or are they just not selling stuff at all? And you can have that moment of reflection after the first book dies on submission, because if you've been with this agent for, let's say, a year, year and a half, that's kind of how long it takes for a book to die on submission. It could be a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, yeah, but let's say a year and a half, but you did a bunch of editorial work together before that. So you've actually been with this agent for 2 years. Have they sold other things for other people during that time? If your book dies on submission, that's not a red flag. Like, that happens to every author at some point in their career. But if your agent has not been able to sell any books for anybody in 2 years, that is concerning. Again, it's not necessarily like that. There might be a totally valid and reasonable explanation for this, but that is concerning. They've gone 2 years without making any money at this. There's not a fire lit under them to do better, to do differently. What is going on? It's worth evaluating and paying better, closer attention at that point. And so when you have taken a closer look at this literary agent and at this relationship that you have, it might be time to cut ties and to say, you know what? You are not selling any books. You are lying to me about who you've been submitting this to, right? Like, there might be things going on underneath the surface that it is time for you to cut ties. Now, there are also other reasons that you might cut ties with a literary agent. You just don't have the same editorial vision anymore. You are starting to write in a genre that they don't represent and they don't know how to sell, and you really want to go in this other exciting direction. There's all kinds of totally valid reasons why the two of you might part ways professionally, and it's no hard feelings. That also happens. But if we're talking specifically about one book has died on submission, you might pay close attention. Have they sold things for other people? Are they selling other stuff other places? And this was just your book that died on submission, then it's fine. I would not recommend cutting ties at that point. You're just going to pull up the thing that you've been working on and you're going to try again.